I was actually just thinking in terms of all religions, coming back to some sort of balance. I mean, I think it's fairly clear globally that power sharing is difficult for men. But
power sharing is difficult for women. I think the thing which keeps women down is that women do not support women. They support men. You know, really and truly. Recently, when they had the convention of bishops in England, Anglican bishops, the Anglican bishops said, look, we should have female bishops. It's not fair. We've got female priests, we should have female bishops. We will put it to the congregation. They put it to the congregation, who are mainly women, and they voted against it. They didn't want female bishops, they wanted male bishops. So if women don't support women, and if women pull women down, as soon as a woman starts to come up, they start speaking against her and start being jealous and putting her down, saying, oh, who do you think you are, etc. Then, you know, if women all held hands and supported each other, what could the men do?
Exactly, and we're 52% of the world.
Ah, so women stand together. Men will stand with us. Actually, I don't ever see the problem as men. I see the problem as the women.
However, in Tibetan society, wouldn't it be perhaps in its interest to change the word for woman to be not low-born?
Well, you could call her Pume. What's Pume mean? You can't throw them out.
Not boy. Pume means not boy.
Does it mean no boy?
Yeah.
Okay. Boys and non-boys. No, it's a boot. It's not a boot. It's a al-bar. No, boot. I think it means something about not being allowed to be thrown out or something. Anyway, yes. Well, if you can think up a nice in Tibetan enhancing word, and a nice enhancing word for nuns would help. That would also be useful.
Yes, Jetsunma, I'm just wondering if anyone has done any research on the matrilineal community in the Chinese Himalayas called Mizo.
The who?
They're called Mizo.
Uh-huh.
And there's a documentary called The Kingdom of Daughters.
Oh, right, yes, I heard about that. It's an island, isn't it?
Yes, it's up to, yeah. They're Kaju. So it would have been very difficult to have the same gender loading in that environment, I imagine.
I think they're also a bit extreme. I mean, I don't think it's a matter of having a society run by women or a society run by men, but a society in which both sides are, you know, mutually support each other and stay in balance. The problem with the world right now is it's run by men, and all the input is mostly male, which is why it's so out of balance. If only women were running it, it would again be out of balance. So what we need is the two to come together and work together for a change, isn't it? And for male to, you know, cultivate feminine qualities, and for women to cultivate more male qualities, so that we are not lopsided. Because the essential nature of our minds is neither male or female. It's beyond gender. Gender is only the trappings which we're put on for this lifetime. I mean, next lifetime you might be a male, or, you know, he might have been a female. You know, it's a very temporary role we're playing here. The problem is that we have, as females, have handed all the authority to the males, and they themselves are not able to cope with it because, you know, as I say, it gets out of balance. It's like having a chorus in which you've got lots of tenors and baritones and basses, but where are the sopranos and the altos? So what we need is to come back into balance, outwardly and inwardly. When I was in Lahore, where I lived, one Lama asked me what my practice was, and then he said, you shouldn't be doing a female practice, you should see yourself as a male. We males see ourselves as female deities. So the idea there was again to, to balance. One more, then we finish.
Can you talk a little bit about how Buddhism views suicide?
Well, on the whole, of course, suicide, first of all, is killing a human being. And so therefore it is essentially a negative act. But on the other hand, the motivation for suicide has to be taken into account, and the thoughts, the last thoughts at the time of death have to also be taken into account. And that we cannot know, because sometimes it looks like it must have been very negative, but maybe it wasn't. But on the whole, suicide, if you know anyone who has committed suicide, then the best thing you can do for them is to get lots of prayers said, and also to make lots of merit on their behalf and dedicate the merit to them. Because if they died in a very negative state of mind, plus the fact that they had taken a human life, it's not very good. We'll leave it. No, that was a negative thing to leave.
Maybe a practical question about, since we Westerners very often put too much stress on ourselves in our practice, so maybe a practical question, what is the minimum we could do in daily life in order to make progress on the path?
Well, I think that you should, at the very, very minimum, you should do about, say, 40 minutes in the morning, and then some practice before you go to bed, at least some shamatha practice or something like this, to get the mind calmed down. I mean, even while you're lying in bed, you can be there watching your breath going in and out and just allowing all the other thoughts to go away. You know, just rest and just rest your mind on your breath. But the important thing, apart from that standard practice, is to use your life as your practice. Everybody you meet is your practice. Just as you want to be happy, don't want to be hurt, every single person wants to be happy and doesn't want to be hurt. You know? And to remember that. And that when people are nice to you, then we are nice back. And when people are not nice to us, then we can think, Lojong moment, and be grateful to them for being horrible, and recognize that they are our teachers of patience. Right? So in this way, and in many other ways, to try to, as much as possible, keep the mind where one's body is. To Guru Rinpoche and everybody subsequently always said, if you can do it, to observe the mind at all times. If we cannot observe the mind at all times, at least to make a commitment that, say, 3 times an hour, we will look at our mind, not judging it, not thinking good thought, bad thought, just knowing it. In this moment, what am I thinking? For as long as we can, and then we go on. So that those moments gradually gain strength, and sometimes in times of big trouble also, we can suddenly, we're there with the mind. And this is the way we gradually begin to become the owners of our mind, instead of the slaves of our mind. And while, as the Buddha said, while we're walking, we know we're walking. When we're sitting, we know we're sitting, and so forth. All these very basic practices which we all know, but we don't do. So take one or two basic practices, and make the commitment that for 1 week I will do this. And then, extend it. Because otherwise the weeks and years go by and you look at the mind and the mind hasn't really changed that much. We've gotten older. Right, then what? Isn't it? And even if the Buddha was here in front of you himself, all he could say is practice. He couldn't do it for you. Nobody can do it for us. Each one of us is responsible for our own mind, our own life. But since we only have limited time, we should then really make the application to use our life as much as possible, especially with people we're close to. We tend to ignore them because you've got all these sentient beings out there that we've got to be loving towards. And we forget the sentient beings, including ourselves, who are closest to us. That is our practice. Okay, so may you all be well and happy. Thank you so much for your patience. And thank you.